Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're going over gaming news April 13th through the 20th, and we got kind of a bigger one this time. We didn't have a lot of news last week. If you're interested, you can go ahead and take a look at that. I'll leave that in the link below. But this one is bigger. We definitely had a lot more news, so I'll go through it as quickly as I can. So we're going to talk with an update of XDefiant. We're going to talk about Baldur's Gate 3, winning 5 major awards. Congratulations to them. We're going to go over some COD stuff. We're going to talk about Ubisoft possibly changing the industry on kind of how we see video games. I'll get into that a little more. We're also going to talk about Xbox expanding into their backwards compatibility and their digital preservation. We're going to talk about Tekken 8 a little bit. Also, a big change in Slay the Spire 2. Also, the end of Battlefield 2042 and what that means for the series. Also, a Fallout 4 and Shelter update. And then we're also going to be talking an update for the Deadspace franchise, and then also Take-Two layoffs. So, we got a whole bunch to go over here, so let me just start digging right in through it. Thanks for listening. If you're listening to this on Twitch or on YouTube, you can always, remember, put this to 1.25 times play speed. It'll help you go through it a little quicker. And then, of course, you can always like and sub all that jazz at Gaming Garbage 22 on YouTube and also at Twitch. Don't turn on me. So, XDefiant. We know that this game was coming out. This was an Ubisoft. We heard about this probably about a couple years ago now. And this actually has been delayed for an entire year, and some people were saying, oh, this is going to like replace Call of Duty. And they've said no, we're not necessarily focusing on that, but they have had some issues. And one of the issues was that the consoles that a game is going to be on, they have to be approved. And what we're finding out is that XDefiant did not meet some of those standards for like PlayStation and for Xbox. And so even though they had a kind of like a closed beta, which was usually just on PC, it didn't meet the console standards. And so they're like, well, we got to work on fixing this. And come to find out, it was a huge issue. And so they've worked on fixing this. We finally had an open beta this weekend. I wasn't able to get to it, but for people that did play it, I did watch some of their reviews and their thoughts on it, is that it seems actually like it's kind of worse. The server has major lag issues. There's hit detection issues. There's also shots through and around cover that don't seem like it's possible. If you're interested, I will try to leave the link in the description to Neo's Cinema. He had some actual gameplay in his video to show what he was talking about. And yeah, definitely some of it looks pretty foobar if you ask me. And so, yeah, it's not launched very good. And usually these open betas, they want the data for their servers and how many people are going to be and what other fixes they can find or see. And the launch generally isn't too far away, so we can probably expect it maybe this summer or maybe in the fall. But again, the server issues and the hit detection, it's not good. And if you kind of want an idea of what it's kind of like Overwatch 2 with some Call of Duty aspects in there, kind of a little bit more of fine-tuned gameplay or gunplay, and but yeah, it's just not going very good. So if you're interested, you can check out the link below. And XDefiant is going to be a free-to-play game, so of course there's going to be microtransactions and like battle passes and whatever to sustain the company. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Next is Baldur's Gate 3 wins all 5 major Game of the Year awards. So first game ever. Except it's not. And so when taking a look, I was kind of curious about this when taking a look. They're not the only one. We've had also, God of War won 5. And it's like, well, what am I seeing here? Something's not making sense. So let's go over this. So Baldur's Gate 3 has won 5 major Game of the Year awards. First time. And so, very much congratulations to them. It has been a wonderful game. They certainly deserve it. And I also like the fundamentals and the focus and the idea of the company, what their goals are, which is very much customer-focused instead of just business-focused. So they won Game of the Year with the Golden Joystick Awards, the Game Awards, the DICE Awards, Game Developer Awards, and BAFTA, which is like a British Academy Award type of thing. There is also a Japanese Game Awards, but that happens in September, and so they're not able to necessarily include everything in the last quarter of the year. And so a lot of people don't consider the Japanese awards as like a main focus. But when taking a look at like God of War, the first one, the remake, which was 2018, it's like, oh, they won 5 awards. But taking a look at what happened, it's like, well, it wasn't the Japanese awards. And you know, they didn't get the golden joystick, but they did get the New York awards. And so sometime in 2023, they took the New York awards and replaced it with the golden joystick, which both of these have been around for some time. It's not like these are both new, just for whatever reason. People wanted to focus now on the golden joystick and consider that one of the major 5 and not the New York awards, even though that is still going on today and it still happens every single year. So it makes a little more sense why we don't include the Japanese, because they don't go through the full calendar year when making their decision, but the other 6 does, which is Golden Joystick, Game Awards, DICE Awards, Game Developer Awards, BAFTA, and the New York Awards. They all give a Game of the Year. But yeah, even though God of War did get 5, they didn't get the golden joystick. But when we take a look at all 6 of these, we see that Baldur's Gate 3 actually won all 6 Game of the Year awards from all of these companies. And so let's take look at some other games too. When we take a look at these, we're seeing that God of War won a total of 5 out of these 6. Breath of the Wild won 5 out of these 6. Elden Ring also won 5 out of these 6. But Baldur's Gate 3 is the first one to actually get 6 out of 6. So when we're taking a look and trying to be fair here across the board, excluding the Japanese awards, because again, they don't get that last quarter, which we get a lot of games in the last quarter. We'll see, you know, next year what Japan decides in September you know, including that last batch of games for the calendar year. But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 has actually won all 6, which that is the first time they've actually done that. So congratulations to them. That is, and they totally deserve it too. They really do. But yeah, why we swapped out New York awards for the golden joystick in 2023 just last year, I have no idea. I wasn't able to find anything. Both of them, again, are still running. I just find that very curious. But if we want to be accurate, we want to, you know, maintain the same standard across every year as far as we can when comparing against other games. And I think comparing 6 instead of 5 is actually a better way to do it. So Baldur's Gate 3 has won 6. Congratulations. Moving on to Call of Duty. Hey, if you're interested in an $80 DLC, which I'm sure you've heard about this already, which is insane, you get a King Kong glove, which is basically like a one-hit kill in Call of Duty. And so, yay! In order to get it, you have to buy 4 bundles at $20 a piece, which again is $80. And this kind of warrants too that it's like, okay, you do get some other stuff. You get some stickers, some skins, charms, whatever. You also get a blueprint and an actual, you know, character skin for each one of these bundles for $20. But is this kind of pay to win? You literally just get to punch somebody once. And they're done. I mean, it kind of reminds me of maybe knifing somebody in like Black Ops 2 or 3 or something like that. You know, some of the older games, or even like Commando Perk, you know, where you could like knife through a car, which is pretty freaking incredible. But being able to just give a one punch when, you know, they've, with Modern Warfare 3 right now, they've actually added health and it's like a longer time to kill. But now you can just one-punch somebody. That kind of seems ridiculous. And there's some other pay-to-win aspects of the game, too, that they've changed or that they've taken out or altered in some way, like the Groot skin or the Rosa skin, which was like all black, or like the Doom shotgun, which is literally OP, folks. That thing is insane. But now we get a one melee where it's like, instead of maybe 4 hits to actually wipe someone out, like in Warzone, you gotta, or 3 hits maybe, if you're playing multiplayer, you actually gotta end up just getting a 1 hit, which is, yeah, this just sounds crazy. So it sounds like a pay to win for $80, which is ridiculous. I can't imagine this sticking around for too long, because I'm sure people are gonna complain about it. And, but yeah, it just feels dirty. It just feels dirty. I mean, that's actually more expensive than the game itself, which is wild. Also taking a look at Warzone Mobile, this actually launched at the end of March, and within 3 weeks, they've lost like 95% of their retention already. They've had bugs, they've had issues with the servers, stability problems. Some people have kind of expected a little more. In 4 days, they did make $1.4 million off of microtransactions off of this free game. But again, with the retention dropping off like that, they've maybe made, a few $1,000,000 off of a mobile game. It probably was profitable to some extent, but it's pretty insane that their retention is just, it's already garbage. And people are continuing on with the original Call of Duty Mobile. They're not interested in the Warzone Mobile. And I think, serves them right. They're literally trying to repackage and resell a game with, better, more options for cosmeticry. And, honestly, this is getting frustrating. So, yeah, I'm glad Warzone has just basically failed at this point. That's wonderful. I do have a graph on my community page. If you're interested, on my YouTube channel, you can take a look at that picture and you can see, like, there's this huge spike up. A lot of people were playing way above Call of Duty Mobile and another game, just for some comparison, and then a major drop off in no time at all. And now Warzone Mobile is actually worse off than Call of Duty Mobile itself. And this brings to the thing of Call of Duty would like us to play the new game that they've made, right? Even if it is a mobile game, they'd like us to play the new stuff and not the old stuff. And this actually brings me to the next thing in our list of news here, is that Ubisoft has taken The Crew 1 offline, while not having an offline option. Now, this game requires an internet connection, and this is actually pretty important to discuss because people have paid money actually for a product. Quite a few people, could buy this used at GameStop or some other store, or get a physical copy, or buy a digital if they wished. But even with having a physical product, you're unable to play the game. Isn't that kind of wild? Because you need the internet connection. Well, if the servers are off and you don't have that online connection, well, it just shows that, hey, basically you don't own the game. Even though it's physically in a disc right there in your freaking disk drive, it's still not going to read and you're not going to be able to play it. And this brings up a question. Okay, is the physical game that I'm buying, or the game that I'm buying, is it actually a product, or is it actually a service? Because this makes it more of a service where you get like a timed, multi-year timed access to a game before they rip it off when they want to, because they're pushing out the new one. Like The Crew 2 or like The Crew Motorfest is their latest one. Now, again, not a lot of people playing this game. I think it is kind of insane to force companies to keep games going when nobody really pays the servers. Okay, that's expensive for them. That's a waste of money on their end. And capitalism says, okay, they shouldn't have to pay that. And I agree with that. But I do think that if you have bought a product from somebody, you should be able to continue to be able to use it at your leisure whenever you'd like. And so they need to create, in my opinion, an offline mode, or at least patch that in where you can still play your game. Because maybe some people still want to go back to that. I have my own children. I would love to be able to go through a lot of the old games that I have stacked at this point, or even some of the digital ones, and play with my two sons as they get old enough to be able to do that. And but yeah, with this possibility of kind of becoming a new, what could you call it, a new thing, and this isn't like the first time this has happened. There's been other ones too, even live service games that totally failed. Maybe some people would like to be able to go back and see how it is, or walk through a completely empty, dead game. But again, to keep those servers up, it kind of seems kind of ridiculous, like Babylon's Fall. That was a Square Enix live service game that was focused on like the, I think it was the Greek mythology. And, well, unfortunately, it didn't go very well, and they shut the servers down within like 18 months, maybe even less than that. It really didn't run very long. But again, if you paid money into the game, as soon as the servers are done and there's no more online connection, all of that money you spent is gone. And that's been an issue too with some of the other games like Madden or NFL or NHL or even 2K NBA 24, or even right now as we have at the football club 24 from EA, is just like, okay, when we buy these skins, even in COD or Battlefield, when we buy these microtransaction stuff and we can't port it over to the next game, that's going to be kind of an issue, because it's like, I paid for that product. It's not necessarily a service. It's not like a subscription or something. I paid for that product. I should be able to have it and own it when I want, even though I think a digital closet is kind of ridiculous. All of those skins, you can only wear one at a time, but, you know, hey, whatever. You guys still paid for it. You should be able to still have access to it, because that was the kind of agreement. But Ubisoft is saying, no, that's not necessarily the case, and someone is actually working on suing them. Now, I don't have an update on that necessarily. I haven't been able to find anything new on that, but someone is actually suing Ubisoft, as far as I know, saying, hey, I have bought a product. That is how it was presented to me, and you need to actually keep the game running, because otherwise that's fraud. And so we'll see what happens with this, even if it goes anywhere. We got somebody going up a huge company. Ubisoft makes a ton of money. They definitely have lawyers for this. But I do think this is important to keep track of in the industry, because if they can shut off the crew, well, then they can shut off Skull and Bones, they can shut off Suicide Squad, they can shut off COD, they can shut off whatever they want, because even though it's a single-player game, or you could play single player technically, you still have to have that internet connection, and when that's gone, well, so is your game. And that's kind of a scary reality. Even if we have physical games, do we really own them? And that's kind of important to think about. Also moving on, Microsoft is adding a new dedicated team to preserve digital libraries, current digital libraries, and the future Xbox games for next-gen hardware. So I kind of buggered that up a little bit, but essentially I'm actually very excited to see this. We got some emails and memos from Bond, which she's been the last few years kind of like one of the big heads at Xbox, making sure that it has a future and and making some good changes for it. And honestly, she was in an interview with talking about some of the exclusives on Xbox going to PlayStation and Switch. And I really actually like her attitude with the company. She's definitely has some good ideas. She is focused on the long-term future of Xbox and its games. And I'm very glad to see that we are going to have a dedicated team. Because, if any of you actually forgot, we got word quite a while ago now that Xbox wasn't going to focus on backwards compatibility anymore. Well, to preserve digital libraries, well, the biggest library Xbox has, it's not Game Pass. The digital library that we have, even though that's part of it for sure, but we also had a backwards compatibility list. And so that is actually going to be preserved, and then they want to continue to expand and build on that. I actually have a quote right here, dedicated to game preservation, building on our strong history, so already existing stuff, building on our strong history of delivering backwards compatibility to our players and bringing forward the library of games to our future players. And so I'm just very excited to hear that. I'm very excited about this. If you want to look it up for yourself, Windows Central is one of the ones that got this story first, so you can look up through them. And then Microsoft has also confirmed this. So we don't have any other details. We don't have any other idea of what this preservation exactly looks like. If we're going to continue to keep the compatibility list as it is, or if they're going to expand it through originals or 360s or Xbox One or whatever. But it does mean that going forward, they want to continue to grow and expand their digital libraries that Xbox already has, so that they're not screwing over their players and their consumer base, because that is an awful thing to do. We've already seen that plenty in the last few years. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I'm very excited about that. Tekken 8 right now definitely has gone from positive to now mixed on Steam, and it's because Tekken 8 now has a Battle Pass. And so people aren't liking that very much, because in Tekken 7, all of the type of stuff or whatever you could get, the cosmetics for the game, well, now you got to pay for it. So isn't that nice? And this isn't necessarily just You know, yeah, I mean, it's a battle pass. It's turned into live service, unfortunately. We've had a great franchise that people have loved. People really received Tekken 8 very well. They made a lot of sales, and then it's like, oh, now we're making it live service. And unfortunately, that is becoming a trend too, where here's the game, you know, and then months later, we're going to change it into live service. And I think that sucks, because we know that ultimately the next game will probably be live service. And then two, there's going to be more focus on development of future cosmetic live service microtransaction garbage, instead of actually focus on improving and making the game better for an experience for us, and actually more real content for us to play through and experience, instead of just continuing to buy more stuff. So again, I am not in favor of the digital closet shopping experience. You know, the DC, let's see, digital closet shopping experience. Sorry, folks, it's a little late. But yeah, the DCSE, you know, we don't want that. The shopping experience is not gaming. We want to stick to our games, and we want to keep them in their entirety a gaming experience, whether solo or with other players. It's not about shopping. And unfortunately, live service, I think, is here to stay. But we do have some wonderful games, and we do actually have a pullback in the live service space. I'll also try to link a deep dive video that I did for the State of Gaming category that I have as a podcast, and you guys can listen to that as well. But I dig into some kind of how live service has been kind of a mess, how it's been trend following, and now leading forward, it's created a wonderful opportunity for some of these smaller game developers like From Software and Larian Studios, or even those that make Hardworks Legacy, to create these games without the live service in them, which is nice. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this too is why, with like examples like Tekken 8, why I understand companies are trying to find more ways to make money, but they're dumping ultimately their resources into these microtransactions, into these battle passes, and this is why games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, why they get Game of the Year and why they get so many sales. So again, folks, if we really want to work on putting a kibosh on this, part of it is just educating people, because if the money wasn't there, well, they wouldn't do it. But there's got to be enough money in there. Like Monopoly Go is a free-to-play mobile game that made $2 billion in 10 months. That is insane. So, the demand and the drive is there, and so they're adding this live service. And I'd say it's a trend because everybody's doing it. And it's for greed. It's not really for anything else. It's not a better experience for us. This is how they're wanting to do it, but they'll never freaking win Game of the Year. I think the last live service game to make Game of the Year was actually the first Overwatch, which that was like 10 years ago. That's going back. And ever since, we haven't had one. And we probably never will at the quality that we're going. So I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to see that people are again frustrated with Tekken 8, that they're frustrated lately with Call of Duty for the last several years, that we're also frustrated with even just Warzone Mobile. They already have COD Mobile. Why did they need to make a whole nother mobile game to try to get money out of people? I don't know. But yeah, I want games. I don't want digital closet shopping experiences. I'm just not a fan. So I'm okay with like free-to-play models being able to have some live service, or microtransactions. They have to make money some way, right? But when you're paying, full $70 for a game, and then you have battle passes and microtransactions on top of it, it's like, come on! I just want to enjoy the game. I'm tired of ads constantly flashing in my face, getting me to try to buy something. It just gets old. In other news, Slay Spire 2 is actually dropping the Unity engine, and so this is within 2 years into development already. They're literally dropping, as far as I understand, all of that, and they're going with an open source engine called Godot, if I'm saying that right, Godot. And if we remember, Unity last year was like, hey, we would like to make some more money, so we're going to retroactively basically take a tax from sales of everybody that's ever used any version of Unity, which just sounds crazy. because the back taxes, or back fees on that for a ton of companies would be huge. Okay, like Microsoft, Square Enix, EA, that would be insane. Again, it's not like some of these companies don't have their own engines, but they still do publish games from smaller developers that have used Unity. And who gets to start paying that? So there was enough pushback, thankfully, that Unity rolled back most of it, but they've still kept some of that policy, and so they're still going to make money off of that. But I think it's wonderful. We got a fairly big indie company, like with Slay Spire 2, that's like, nope, we are not going to do this anymore. We're going to focus on some other engine that we can use. Or some too have also declared recently, even some of toward the end of last year, hey, we're going to go with Unreal Engine. And so this has been wonderful for Unreal Engine. I think they're going to make a ton of money. I think a lot of people too are also going to switch when Unreal Engine 6 actually comes out toward, when we get the next generation of consoles. But I'm happy to see this too, because I think greed is just destructive, and it also makes just the quality of our gaming industry worse. It's not just gaming, it's just our lives, folks. Greed is awful. It is so destructive. It takes its time. It's like a cancer or like rot, but eventually, it works and bores its way through. And so something to think about too is, even though with Unity backpedaling like they did, I think the damage is done, and I think the damage is permanent. I mean, when you make a move like that, retroactively, without any feedback, why would you want to stay with the company when there's other options out there? And again, this is what makes capitalism great. This is what makes an open market wonderful to have, is because there's options. And the competition keeps the prices low, the quality higher, and, we get to vote with our time and money, folks. We should remember that. So, screw you, Unity. Good luck. In other news, Battlefield 2042 has launched its last season. Now, we originally were only supposed to have 4 seasons. Instead, we had 7, but 3 of them were pretty garbage because they were kind of more like patches to backpedal, to add some features that were supposed to be there because it's a freaking Battlefield game. And Battlefield 2042 really didn't launch that good. It has improved. Okay, they've redone a lot of their maps. Yeah, their maps were just F-word. I mean, how else can you say it? It's just horrible. But yeah, they've redone a lot of stuff. Again, some of these seasons were pretty much junk because, again, it was more of a fix than actually trying to do, make content for the game. But yeah, they backpedaled a lot of changes. They removed some modes. They changed some things with like the class system and whatever. They added more items and gear and gadgets and weapons. But good gravy, man. I mean, they just totally botched that. And they've learned their lesson a little bit, I hope. At least that's what they've said. This also didn't even have a campaign. It's like, what the frick? It's a bloody Battlefield game. Give me a bloody campaign. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just playing Black Ops 4 again, which is not worth $60. If you want a full price tag, give me a full game, Mother Hubbard. I mean, that's what we're expecting here. And so we know that Criterion and Motive, they're actually going to be working on this on the next Battlefield. And boy, let Motive cook. I hope. Motive really impressed me with Deadspace remake last year in January. Man, it was so good. And then too, I really enjoyed Star Wars Squadrons. They made that one too. And wonderful game to play. I wish it was bigger. But, oh man, let them cook. But this does bring us to something else. Well, first, yeah, we know that Criterion and Motive, they're working on the game, but we don't know who's working on the campaign yet. We still, as far as we know, there is going to be a campaign to the next Battlefield game. I am curious. I won't say I'm excited, but I am curious. But, boy, Battlefield 2042 just really left a bad taste in my mouth. So my expectations are still low, but, what's your bet? When the next Battlefield comes out that year, whatever year that is, what's going to be worse? Battlefield or COD? Because both of them are pretty much sucking D right now. And, boy, what a mess. It's just a frustrating thing to just. I mean, I love first-person shooters. I love the multiplayer. I love the camaraderie, being able to work with a team and whatever. Like, I even played some Warzone a little bit tonight with some buds, and just had a good time. You know, I enjoy that. I miss that, and I miss the experiences, the possibilities of how a match can go, and just the dopamine levels going for a high. You know, I just love that. But then when it's just bogged down by microtransactions, broken servers, and just missing aspects of a game, I don't want to freaking play it. I'd rather play something else that's better quality, because there are other options out there. Or at least I can play a free-to-play game like Fortnite, like Valorant, like Apex, like XDefiant when it gets here, and enjoy something like that. Or like Warzone. I mean, again, that's all free, folks. And so these games that are $70, they need to prove that they're worth $70. And I think some of these companies are forgetting that. So we'll see what the next Call of Duty Gulf War is going to be later this year. We're going to see what the next Battlefield is, but I'm not necessarily holding my breath. But if we can, we'll cover them right here on the channel. Next is the Fallout 4 update. So this will be April 25th, literally right around the corner. We're finally, we heard that there was going to be like a 4K update that was going to be free for Fallout 4. Now, we heard about this like roughly 2-3 years ago, and then they're like, well, we're working on Starfield. Well, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6. And we know now, too, that Todd Howard's also been working on an Indiana Jones video game. And we know, too, we now have the Fallout TV show. So there's been a lot of things to kind of focus on between the companies here with what they're working on and what they're doing. But yeah, Fallout 4 is finally going to get their update on 25th. This is going to be free for Xbox Series X and for PlayStation 5. So let's go over what it has. And it actually has quite a bit. So we're talking about native applications. We're talking about 4K. We're going to have 60 frames per second. There will be a performance and quality mode. There will also be quest fixes, stability for the game, and other bug fixes. They're going to add the pre-war Cabal to the game as a faction, and also the Enclave to the storyline, which I'm excited for that. Plus, we're going to get Echoes of the Past, which is supposed to be like a kind of like a multi-mission quest that we're going to have. And then previously launched Creation Club content. We're going to get Enclave weapon skins, Enclave armor skins, the Tesla cannon, the Hellfire and XO2 power armor, the heavy incinerator. We're also going to get workshop items, and we're also going to get the Enclave Colonel uniform. If you played, I think it was Fallout 2. Is where the uniform is. If you didn't, it's okay. If you can play those, enjoy them for part of the lore and just for some of the older style of gameplay. But if not, hey, you're not missing too much, right? It's okay. There's plenty of other Fallout out there. But we're also going to get a makeshift weapon pack that's available. I do believe this also is free. So we're able to take some more junk that's out there in the wasteland and be able to cobble them together to make weapons. So we have like a leaf blower launcher. You're also able to use like piggy banks or other random items as ammo for the Fat Man launcher instead of nukes, which is wonderful. We're going to have like a rivet gun, and there's going to be some other things too that are out there. Also, there's going to be 38 new settlement items. So all of this is from the ill-fated Halloween party thrown by the New England Technocrat Society. That went horrible, which I personally don't know the lore on that, but some of you might. But yeah, 38 new settlement items for anything between everything all Halloween. Witches, brooms, pumpkins, candles, whatever. You're all going to have that available. Also, the Fallout Shelter mobile game is getting an update too. So they're going to be getting TV show content like some of the characters and also some of the dresses or gowns or whatever or outfits like Vault 32 or like the actual wedding dress you're going to be able to have. And I kind of wish some of that actually was for the update for Fallout 4. But, you know, they made it for the mobile game, and I'm kind of a little bummed about that. But hey, it is what it is. Makes me wonder, though, why they couldn't actually put that in Fallout 4, because a lot more people, I think, are going to play that instead. And two, the numbers looking at Fallout 4, ever since the TV show's been out, man, the Fallout numbers across 3, 4, New Vegas, and 76 have all exploded higher on Steam charts. We're talking hundreds of thousands tens of thousands of other players, and all of it adding up to like an extra 100,000 people playing these Fallout games on PC. And it's not just PC. I mean, we're also talking about some of this has come out for the Epic Store, which is great. You can check the Epic Store to see what's available there. And then, too, talking to some of my other friends and even I myself, we're getting back into the old Fallout stuff just to play it, even though we haven't touched it for a while. Because, again, the TV show, my wife and I, we just watched the first episode. It's free if you're interested on Amazon Prime TV. You just have to have an account. You can just log in real quick, install the app on your whatever, and watch the first episode for free. And yeah, the first episode was so great. I just really enjoyed it. There's a few things that maybe I would have done a little differently, but I'm really not nitpicking. I mean, it's got to be one of the best TV adaptations I've seen for a video game TV show. I mean, yeah, it was wonderful. If you guys are curious or have the time, please check it out. It's an hour and 15 minutes, and I think it sets it up really good, but tons of fan service. Good golly, the Pip Boys were awesome. Some of the weapons, too, in the game. Just, whoever the prop designers were and stuff for outfits, just frick yeah, man. I mean, that just looked amazing. It looks so good. Go ahead and at least watch the first episode, or go over to somebody's house and watch the whole thing. My wife and I, what we're going to do is you can actually get 1 week free trial of Prime TV, and we're going to binge watch the other 7 episodes for season 1, and then we're going to cancel because we don't like spending money. So life's expensive. But yeah, it was so good. I just absolutely loved it. Oh, let's see. We did find out one more thing. There was an interview recently, which we did find out that Fallout 5 is in the far future. Way far future. So we're talking probably next-gen consoles, folks. We're going to be waiting until like 2030. That's pretty freaking far out there. Maybe even further than that. We'll have to see. But yeah, way far out there. That was confirmed by Todd Howard. I do want to say one other thing, though, is that with this interview, I forget who it was with. I can't remember if it was IGN or somebody else. But there was a lot of people that were kind of worried, or there was a lot of, backlash on the first season of Fallout, the TV show, or supposedly it seemed that way. A lot of people have received it very, very well, but I think some folks have been loud enough to kind of create some controversy here. And during the interview, they gave away some of Season 2, which doesn't make any sense to me. But they're feeling enough pushback, the creators of the Fallout TV show, they're feeling enough pushback that they felt like they needed to clarify some things to set the record straight, because some of these people are actually being threatened, folks. Like, that's insane. Like, if you watch the show and you feel the need to threaten somebody directly, that's ridiculous. That's immature. That shit's got to stop. That is totally out of line. And then, too, with how well the show is done, the props, the story, my wife never played any Fallout games. I've basically played them all since they've been out on console, and spent, probably almost 1,000 hours across all of the games that they have. And I'm excited for Fallout 5, but oh my word, like, they did such a good job, and it drew my wife in too. She didn't have to know all of the lore, right? She can kind of explore and enjoy it for what it is and learn as we go through the season. But it's kind of crazy that just the backlash on some of this, and it just seems like it's out of hand, folks. Okay, if you want to nitpick stuff, maybe you shouldn't be watching the show. Maybe you should just take a break, or maybe, too, the adage, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it. But for Pete's sakes, don't threaten people's lives, okay? Don't threaten the lives of the directors and the creators of this TV show, because, yeah, they're doing a great job. And we can nitpick over a few things, or we can have disagreements, but, boy, there needs to be mutual respect there. And I think that is really lacking in our generation. I'm 34, okay, so basically those that are 35 and under, or maybe even 40 and under, there's just a lack of respect for people, and that has got to stop. Because if you want to blame society, you should probably look at yourself first. That's all I'm saying. So for those of you that can't appreciate what they're doing and the amount of stuff that they put in, well, you know, go get a budget, go get some loans, and go make your own TV show, and let's see how good that is. But otherwise, just shut up. Like, it's utterly ridiculous how some people are just completely ranting on this and threatening the director. It's just stupid. Next, we're going to get into Deadspace. So there was some rumblings and rumors for the last while. Hey, we're going to get a Deadspace 2. There's even some stuff out there saying that Motive had a like a survey to some gamers to say, hey, would you like a Dead Space 2 remake? And frick yes, please. The first one was really good, but EA has confirmed that there is no Dead Space 2 in development. Now, it was as a concept maybe, or it was kind of started as an idea, but again, there was no actual development on the game. And they say that there just wasn't enough sales for the Dead Space remake. Now, one thing I definitely think hurt the game was the price point. Because when I thought of a remake, I'm like, okay, $60. Again, this is the beginning of 2023. And when I heard at the end of 22 that, okay, it's going to be $70, it's like, I don't think it's worth $70. I think it's worth $60. And again, this game got an 89 out of 100 on Metacritic. And a very fun game. I mean, I'm definitely going to keep my physical copy and play through it some more on harder difficulties to see if I can get some of those achievements and work through more of the lore and stuff. But yeah, $70, that was a little tough to swallow. I swallowed it anyway, and I'm glad I did. I enjoyed the game, but again, I think it was a better price point of $60, and since they didn't have enough sales, we're not going to get a Dead Space 2. And this is just another thing, too, where it's like, there's too much focus on making all the money, maximizing profits every single flipping time, and if something doesn't, you know, absolutely blow up expectations on sales, they just want to cancel it. They just don't want to do it, and I think that sucks. We've already seen that from Embracer Group. They've canceled 29 games and closed 7 studios. We've already seen that too with Ubisoft, where they're canceling multiple IPs, which some of them were actually pretty good, and some of them we'll never know what they are. We've also gotten other stuff too from others, like Square Enix, or even possibly now too from Sony, with saying, like, Sony is delaying, don't know for how long, but delaying 6 out of their 12 live service games. Even though I don't like live service games generally, I'm still curious kind of what they are, and I think they should have a chance. And I think the studios should have a chance too. But it's just becoming more and more common where it's just like, look, this is what we know works, this is what we know sells, let's literally milk it to death and get as much money as we can. And I just think it sucks that Dead Space is, once again, it's dead. That sucks. Next, we're going to talk about Take-Two layoffs. So this was after about a month of saying that we didn't have to worry about layoffs from them, things were great, and apparently that was not the case. So we're going to have 570 employees, roughly, that are going to be fired. Don't know if that's effective immediately or later down the road, but there's going to be 570 that are going to be gone. They've also canceled several games, which we don't know what those are. As a reminder, though, they just bought Gearbox for $460 million, which is like, you spend $500 million, but you can't keep 570 employees. That's kind of weird. And they're with getting rid of the employees and with canceling the games, they're going to save about $165 million. It's like, really? Okay, you guys basically made a ton of money off of Grand Theft Auto 5. You had 195 million in sale units. If we kind of factor in some of the discounts and whatever, we can probably estimate that the average of those 195 million units was maybe around $35. So we're looking at like $6.5 billion on GTA 5. I mean, GTA 6 is going to be huge, and that's literally coming supposedly next year. So it's like, you're firing the people now. You already had layoffs last year, too, in 2023. You're having layoffs again just so you can save another $165 million from almost a $7 billion game that you've been milking to death. And this does not include all of the microtransactions with GTA 5. This doesn't include all of the microtransaction and subscription services with GTA Online, which again, they've made probably, tens of millions or hundreds of millions from that too. And you're telling me you gotta fire these people? And again, we've learned from some of these companies that they would rather save the financial stress of the business than actually keep their talent, which sounds insane. Some of these companies are trying to replace with AI, which is not working. I think it will someday, as they will continue to improve as tools, so we won't need as many people. But still, it's like, one of the reasons why I think a lot of games suck this decade so far in the 2020s is because so many people have either been retired or have been fired or have gone somewhere else, or layoffs or whatever you want to call it. And so we're taking that experience and moving it off as somewhere else. And it's like, that's why Starfield was kind of a little boring. That's why Suicide Squad as a live service from Rocksteady didn't make any sense. That's why Skull and Bones doesn't make any sense as a pirate game, because we already had Black Flag and Rogue, which were way better mechanically and even graphically, even though with those games being over 10 years old. And there's other examples too. It's like, what the frick is going on? Like Arcane Studios, Austin with Redfall. What a joke. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection from Aspyr. They did a great job with Tomb Raider. I think it would have been nice to do a little bit remodeling with Tomb Raider, which we got to see that in Tomb Raider 2, not Tomb Raider 1. But again, it's like, okay, was that kind of rushed? And then with the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, that's boogered up too. They didn't have the servers right. There's still a ton of bugs in that game. I encountered a ton of bugs just my last playthrough today on Mos Eisley. It's like, what the frick? I can't even jump. This is kind of a bummer. And effectively, these Star Wars games, or at least the Star Wars Classic Collection, it feels kind of dead on Xbox. There's not even 50 people that play anymore at any given time, even during the weekend, like right now. And I think that sucks. I was hoping it was going to be good, but I think the community has already left, and I don't think they're coming back. What a bummer. I still play if you guys are down, but yeah, that kind of sucks. So we've gotten to a point where just these games aren't coming out very well, and I think they're just firing too many of the wrong people. And I think, again, we're going to see more pain throughout this year and into next year for more games. And, oh boy, I hope they don't mess up GTA 6. I hope that's going to be good. I hope they're not messing up Star Wars Outlaws. Again, I know some people are really frustrated with the whole pricing action of the different editions. I agree, and I know people are frustrated too with the ugliness and some of the issues with character models in Star Wars Outlaws. I agree with that too, to an extent, but again, we don't have the game yet. We don't know if the game sucks. And it's made by the same company that did Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. So I'm expecting it actually to be pretty good. Don't forget, that's a launch game. I'll be showing it here on the channel in August. But man, I just can't believe, Take-Two. I already was not excited that they were buying Gearbox and getting the Borderlands franchise, because I already don't like Take-Two. Again, they're another big stickler for live service garbage, whatever, in my opinion. And we're it's okay to disagree, but to say they're not going to have layoffs, a month ago, and now we have them. They're canceling multiple games. They just bought Gearbox for $500 million, basically, and then they're doing all of this to save $165 million when GTA 5 has made them, like, billions? I mean, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Like, you literally couldn't keep them on and just have them work somewhere else or on a different project, or even speed up GTA 6, because right now, I got to see this today, it's expected for spring of 2025. Well, we got a memo from Rockstar saying that, or an email, whatever, or statement saying that it's actually a little more likely to be in fall of 2025. And then on top of that, their fallback plan is for 2026. So we know there's some issues going on. There's some rumblings there that things aren't actually kosher, that they're having some issues. And so expect GTA 6 to actually be delayed, folks. I don't like saying that or hearing that either, but I'm trying to give you guys the news here, and that is definitely one of the possibilities, and I think we should prepare for that. So thanks for tuning in to the news, folks. I know that was a lot to cover. Thanks for hanging in there. And of course, you can always follow me at GamingGarbage22 and also over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And yeah, hang in there, folks. Remember that relationships are important, that, you know, cosmetic stuff is fun, cars are fun, stuff is fun, right? There's nothing wrong with stuff, but don't let it be your life, okay? Let relationships be your life. And if you're not there at that point, boy, continue to work on that. Make that a goal for this year. We got plenty of year left. Because, man, I just had one of the best birthday weeks ever of my life. And it's because of the relationships that I've invested in. And it's worth it, folks. It really is. And, you know, if you take time to better yourself, improve yourself, and make some of those goals and work toward them. You know, dreams can become goals when there's a practical way to get there. Don't forget that. So with that, folks, I'll see you on the next one.